You cannot scale if you cannot delegate, or if you don't have the mindset of, well, I don't have to do it all. I can just hire people to do the things that I don't want to do.
AI, the big word of the year, potentially this century moving forward. Everyone's using it for so many different purposes, whether it's creating content. Some people use it as their business partner for strategy. Other people are using it for automation to scale their business. And that is one of the core ways that I see AI and automation being used in the next few years, so that solo founders, like a lot of the audience today, can figure out how to act as a full-on marketing team or be like an enterprise business, but still really just be kind of you solo at your house. And so to figure all this out, I've invited on Aarti Anand. Today we have on Aarti Anand, the founder and CEO of Kodenyx AI. Aarti helps founders build AI-first businesses that scale sustainably without burnout, overwhelm, or busy work. Today, we're going to dive into Aarti's journey, her business, and how she's leveraging AI to create scalable systems for her clients. So Aarti, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dave. I'm very excited.
Wonderful. So yeah, AI, big topic. I personally use it in my business, and I help install some into my clients' businesses as well, specifically on the content end of things. But I think you're more so kind of like AI systems for scalability, correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. So give us an idea of kind of what that is. What for those who are not too familiar with AI, specifically AI automation and systems, what is someone like you doing? Who are you helping, and what's the problem that you're solving?
Yeah. So we work with business owners who are deep down in the weeds, and they have systems that they don't realize, but they are only working manually today. Why that's so important is because as a business owner, I started with a dream. I wanted freedom of time, location, money. And I bet everybody who leaves a 9 to 5 or just jumps right into starting a business, these are the aspirations that they have, right? But what happens once you start a business? Well, you start as most likely as a solopreneur, and then you start doing marketing, and you're also doing sales, and then you're also doing all other things business, and then you're wearing all those hats. Where is your time going? That happened to me as soon as I started my own business. I started as a solopreneur. I was jumping and wearing all these hats, and really quickly the energy wore down, right? And then I was like, what's happening? And then I realized, well, when I was in a 9 to 5, I was responsible for XYZ. Those are the only things I used to do. And then I would clock out at 5. But then that doesn't happen when you are running your own business. So how do you go from being a solopreneur to scaling, where you're hiring team and you're hiring them because you have more work than you can handle? And then how do you train your team to do what you were doing so you can offload? Because to be honest with you, delegation is the heart of running a scalable company. You cannot scale if you cannot delegate, or if you don't have the mindset of, well, I don't have to do it all. I can just hire people to do the things that I don't want to do. So with that mindset, when you start delegating, how are you training the people? Do you have an SOP in place? Do you have the trainings in place? How are they going to replicate you in your business on the things that you don't want to do anymore? So you need systems to be able to carry a business forward. And once you have a system that's proven to work manually, now you can use AI and automate and build those automations and automate those workflows, and then you can go 100x faster than your competitors. And that's how you scale faster than anybody else. That's what we wanted to do in our business. And that's what, again, at the end of the day, if there is a business owner who started a business that they wanted freedom of time, location, and money, I don't think they can do this without having systems in place. And if you already have a system in place that works manually, then let's use AI and automations and have you run 100x faster than your competitors. And in 12 months from now, it'll be very hard for them to catch up with you.
For sure. And I love what you said there about, I see this all the time, especially with my clients as well. It's you come from a corporate world into solopreneurship. And in your corporate world, you had other departments doing everything for you. I mean, you're like, wow, I'm a great account manager. I can provide a service to our clients really, really well. And then maybe the pandemic happened or whatever that you kind of ventured off into your own because you're like, I can do this myself now. But then you didn't realize that there was an accounting team and a marketing team and a sales team and HR and all these departments that were fleshed out with source resources and SOPs and processes to handle all the stuff that you didn't have to think about. And so then you go into your solopreneurship and all of a sudden you have to wear all of those hats and you go, oh crap, my day is now 80% task work and 20% doing the thing I used to do or I want to be doing. So yeah, I think that's a common story a lot of our listeners can relate to. So AI automation, it's like new, but it's not. But I do think that it's relatively, in terms of like AI systems and using AI to actually scale processes and all that kind of stuff, we're kind of in like an interesting heyday with that. But how did you personally get into AI and then kind of find your niche for like, hey, you know what, this is something that I want to provide not just for my own business, but for other people's businesses too?
That's an excellent starting point. So, when I started the business, I started going and talking to people, other founders. I'm starting something new. What do you do on a daily basis? What do you need help with? And that's a very natural way, natural and intuitive way to start something new because you don't want to build something and then bring it to market, which is 90% of the people do, and it still is done to this date. That never works out. You have to figure out a gap and someone should be willing to pay you for filling that gap, and then you go create the solution to fill that gap. So I started asking people, well, what do you do on a daily basis? What are you struggling with? And quickly the theme that emerged, which is what we just touched upon, is everybody is wearing multiple hats and they're wearing that as a badge of honor. And I hated seeing that. I hated listening about it. I just hated how it felt. So then I started to get into AI and automations, and that seemed like such an intuitive way to solve all those problems. Is you figure out as a founder what you are good at, what prints you money, and it also lights you up. Once you see the task at the intersection of that, that's the one you want to keep it close to your heart, and you literally let everything else go. And what do I mean by that? Is you find someone to delegate to, or you eliminate it, or you automate it. And once you start seeing things and tasks through that lens, it's just hard to not see it at all. And that helps you in two ways. It helps you protect your energy. It also helps you not just energy, but also your hourly rate you have for yourself. Once you start to value that more than the money, then it becomes so intuitive what I want to do on a daily basis and what I don't want to do. Well, let's think about it. Can I delegate it? Yes, I can, but then how much of this is repetitive and how much of this is reproducible? So if I put a process in place and someone were to come in and they were to follow steps 1, 2, 3, can they get to a predictable outcome? If the answer is yes, then you can train AI to do the same exact thing. And then you don't have to hire 5 different people to sit at the help desk to take 5 calls in tandem. You could actually have a voice agent and you could have 100 calls going in parallel. And that's when you're doing things at scale. And that's when you're getting the revenue that you deserve.
What were some of the early automations that you created, I guess for your own business, we'll say, or others that you were like, wow, I see the power of AI automation. This is pretty powerful.
Yeah. So I'll give you 2 examples. One is in lead gen. Lead gen is an area of the business that every business owner struggles with, right? If you don't have a predictable source of leads, every morning you wake up, you have to think where the next client is coming from. That's not a business. That's a very expensive hobby, right? So that's what I like to help with. And that's the early on, that was the problem we were dealing with as well. As a new kid on the block, we had to figure that out. So we started putting together cold email campaigns, and then we automated the whole thing to a point where now the system runs on autopilot. And once we have the system that's installed in your business, every month you come in, you scrape new leads, or we can also handle that part for you. That's the only manual step. You can scrape new leads every single month, drop them in the folder, and the system runs on autopilot. It sends the email, it personalizes them, it enriches the leads from different sources, and then at the end of every day, you're basically looking at your calendar and you have some qualified booked appointments ready for you to attack. And then you don't, if once you take lead gen off of a founder's plate, what do you give them back? You give them back the time that they want to spend where they want to spend. And it could be just the sales. Maybe some people just excel at sales. Some people excel at creating new relationships, which is the 4 C's of leverage, and it's called collaboration. Some people excel at collaboration, and that's where they bring most of their business. And that's when you give them time back to go leverage those and ready to scale. So cold email automations, which helps in lead gen, was one of the best selling solutions, and it still is to this date. Second part was many of the founders that were coming to me, they were running big teams. So think about 20 to 30 employees. You're already bringing in the revenue that you like, but then you're not sure where you need help because the systems are messy, or maybe systems don't even exist because it's all word of mouth. A Slack message comes in and then the partner jumps on and then they talk to the staff member or maybe the account manager. So lots of these processes where they needed help with is someone who is an outsider, but they know they are the expert in systematization and really auditing the teams and where their time is going and where the workflows are happening and how many of them are manual. And so we started doing AI audits, and that became an instant bestseller because when you run an AI audit, and typically teams take 4 weeks at least to sit down in conference rooms and talk about strategy and talk about what would be the next step on AI adoption journey. And in those 4 weeks, instead, we give you the complete blueprint of if you were to run as an AI first business, what would your workflows look like? The top 10, 15, 20, based on how big your business is. And then we rank them via our proprietary shift score framework that I've created. Is we give you low effort, high ROI at the top, and then high effort, high ROI at the bottom. So the first 5 or 10, that would be included in your 90 days implementation plan. And then we also give you a 6-month roadmap and then a 12-month roadmap. If you just take that 4 weeks of our work on your business, customized to your business plan, you take that blueprint and you take it to someone and you say, we want to start implementing. We already have a list of workflows and we already have them redesigned as an AI first workflow. Just take it and implement it for us. We make it that easy. We could also be the vendor that would implement it for you, or you could just take it and go find someone probably cheaper than us, if that exists, and then you just ask them and they could implement it for you. So that's how easy we make AI adoption for the businesses that need help. But businesses come to us from different stages of their AI adoption journey. Some of them have one problem they're ready to attack, where we build a custom workflow for them, or if they have no clarity on how to edit their business and start implementing those workflows, then we start with an AI audit. And it's immensely helpful because under 4 weeks, we give them the complete blueprint.
Hey, Blueprint fam, if you're enjoying today's episode and finding my guest insights valuable, then you'll definitely want to subscribe to the Personal Brand Blueprint podcast as we drop weekly guest interview episodes just like this one. And on that note, you obviously also see firsthand how powerful being an effective guest, like the one you're watching on this episode right now, can be at attracting qualified, interested leads directly into your sales funnel. But I know what you're thinking. You want to get into guest podcasting, but starting feels confusing and overwhelming. What equipment do you need? And how do you look and sound great? And how do you turn listeners into leads? I know this because so many of my guests had these exact problems in the past. And that is why I created the Podcast Guest Mastery Blueprint. It's a simple but powerful breakdown on everything you need to look, sound, and convert great as a podcast guest. Everything from how to set up your recording area to what equipment you need to look and sound great on camera, and what to say on podcasts to stand out, be memorable, and earn the audience's trust. And then that one key strategy to turn listeners into leads. I'm telling you, this isn't just another checklist. This is a step by step blueprint to make sure you look, sound, and present your best on podcasts so you can convert that attention into leads and ultimately new business. I honestly was thinking about selling this for like $97, but I'd rather give access to this guide to my personal brand blueprint podcast audience for free. So if you are ready to become a sought after podcast guest and use it to generate leads and build your personal brand, then grab your copy of Podcast Guest Mastery Blueprint at davepoly.com/podguest blueprint. You can find the link to that in the show notes below. Again, that's davepoly.com/podguest blueprint, and start turning podcast interviews into business. Again, it's completely free for being a loyal listener, so definitely check it out. Cool? All right, let's get back to the conversation. Yeah, because I want to get into shortly your own lead generation process and how you're using your personal brand for that. But let's kind of talk about what you were started to talk about here in terms of like awareness with your clients. So does a business need to be already trying to be an AI first business, already starting to dabble with AI automation for you to help with them? Or could it be a business that's still stuck in this is still digital, but like manual Google Doc days and Excel spreadsheets or whatever to organize their information or to systemize their information, and you can come in and go, whoa, there's actually these tools, AI tools that can do that. So what's an ideal client? I would assume they're already interested in AI, but can you still work with those that aren't?
We can, and the spin that I like to put on it is it's mindset first, technology and tools later. If you are someone who's trying to scale, but your team is still using Google Doc, that's not a problem. Training is a training. It could be on a video format. It could also be in a doc format. It could also be in an expensive platform like, I don't know, Airtable or Zapier or something else. The point is, are you ready? Do you see the investment you are making in having someone come in and do the audit for you? Because an audit, most likely, let's say you are running a couple of $1 million ARR business, right? An audit can easily add 250 to 500 grand into your business just by us auditing and you starting to implement those workflows one by one. It could easily do that. And you don't have to have the AI first business right now, but you have to have the founder identity that's where you want to take your business. Once the identity is there, you'll stop accepting mediocre systems. You'll start seeing opportunities everywhere. When you have to sit down and your team is slacking you for a message that someone in your team could already have answered, or those FAQs should have existed in a document already, that's a good place to start. And then we can come in and we can tell you what would be a good replacement for that Google Talk, for that sales script training. We could tell you how to scale that and automate it. But the truth is, most likely, you don't even need an AI agent. You're most likely going to be okay if you use a traditional automation to automate what's been working manually today, or put an AI spin on top of it and call it an AI automation, where there is a personalization that's happening somewhere in that workflow from A to Z via an OpenAI component. And that's all you may need to go and get to the 50% level of optimization that you needed last year.
What have you seen has been the one AI automation that you can put internally that streamlines a process and saves a business the most money?
So I like to think of it this way. The most expensive asset in the business is probably the founder's time, which most people don't realize. Like you're supposed to be the highest paid person in your business because you are the one who brings the vision. You're also taking all the risks and you're also leading with vision. right? How do we start as a solopreneur? We have a problem that we want to solve. We want to build something, and somewhere along the way we try to fulfill, and we're also doing the sales calls, and we're also doing our own marketing. Somewhere along the way we generated enough leads and we have enough business. At that point, I sit down and I make a list of things I want to do and everything I don't want to touch. That's when I start to hire people. It could be an EA, which gives me my time back because I don't want to deal with admin. That's the first step in the replacement ladder for yourself. You hire an EA because you don't want to do the admin. Because admin probably would be $10, $25 an hour. And as a founder, you're most likely sitting at $500, $600, $700 an hour. So it's a no-brainer for you to go hire someone as an EA or VA who'll do those things. Now, what is the next level of replacement you need? You probably don't want to offload sales until you have enough and to deal with, and then you also have enough people on the fulfillment side of things, right? So what I have seen and where I think is most fruitful and the best ROI is for you as a founder is you make a list of tasks that need to get done. They also print money, but you don't want to do it. And those are the tasks that you need to offload to someone else or automate, because most likely the things that you need help with, they're already automation exists or someone can build for you. Maybe they are 100% manual today, but even if we can build an automation for you, which gets you 70% automated workflow and only 30% is human supervision, or there are 10% touch points somewhere along the line, that's still better than 100% manual, right? So founders' time hourly rate is where I would put your bet on. As long as you can free most of your time and then start delegating, that would be a really good place to start and putting automations in your business.
Yeah, let's kind of double click on this topic too, because a lot of our listeners are small teams, solo founders who that's great for kind of internal fulfillment side of things, but we also need to drive leads and clients into our business. So that's also an area that we're focused on. And so what's some of the ways that currently you are, whether it's AI enabled or not, you are using your personal brand to attract new clients into your business?
Yeah. So I love to sit down and have conversations like this. That's what gives me energy. And that's how I also expand my network and then connect with other people who are sort of going in the same direction that I want to go in my career and in my life. So anything that I can do to buy back my time to sit down and do more podcasting, to shoot videos for, I run 2 coaching programs, AI for youth and then AI for business. Anything I can free up my time to shoot content for those 2 programs, or to do more podcasting, or to give my team enough content so they can repurpose and reuse this. So we are constantly putting content out on Insta, LinkedIn, and then YouTube. I am willing to do anything to buy back my time to do all of that. So, where did my time go in the early months? It was fulfillment. I was attracting more leads. I was also really good at closing them. But then I hit a wall where, well, who's doing the fulfillment? And then if I'm doing the fulfillment, then who's doing the lead gen or taking people on sales call? Because think about it, the days you're fulfilling, the energy is completely different than the days you're doing sales calls versus the days you're shooting content.
Yeah.
And I want people to really understand how religiously you have to protect your time, because you are the talent in your business. If you're shooting content, you are the person who is building and bringing in trust in sales call so you can close and print money. And if you don't protect your time from the fulfillment side of things, you're going to burn out and you won't show up as your best self when you're shooting content, or when you're having conversations like this, or when you're hopping on sales call. Because if you have a fulfillment problem, you don't have enough time, then you're going to shy away from closing that deal or being the person that you need to be on that call to make sure that you close that deal.
You're going to be like, oh man,
It's gonna
I don't even have the time for this client. So please don't say yes.
Right? So,
Yeah.
and these are the things that really they matter, and it's all mindset. So anything that I can do to free up my time for content, for my coaching programs, and for everything that goes on socials every day, because we try to put out 3 pieces of content every day on every, and of course we're repurposing, but it's 3 pieces of short form that go out on every platform every single day. And if we stop doing that, the algorithms will stop working for us because we're not showing up consistently. It's also people you make relationships with along the way. My content goes out 6:30 a.m. every single day, and I see things change or the behavior is not the same or the engagement is not the same if it's not scheduled for 6:30 a.m. MST, because these are the people who are showing up every day. We're trying to engage with each other, and that's how we're building our network. And if our content slips for 2 weeks, I see a massive difference. And I'm not saying that to discourage someone or telling someone to be on a hamster wheel. I'm just saying, if you protect your time and you're shooting content and you have a team who can repurpose that content, cut the clips, and they just go schedule, because you're not in a firefighting mode all day. It's a different way to run a business than being a firefighter all the time.
100% agree. The so you mentioned being on podcasts, and I know you have like your, I guess your coaching assets as well, and but you're publishing content daily, which I think for a lot of listeners would is just like a miracle for them. If they can get, 1 or 2 posts per week, it's a lot for them. So what is that system that you have in place that you're able to produce daily content? It sounds like you have a team in place. Is that automated with some AI elements? Like, what does that process look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we have figured out how many of hours of my time they're going to need on a weekly basis to sit and shoot. So the scripts are generated ahead of the time. The the content works in a way so we track what works and what doesn't, and we double down on the things that are working. And we're not a big brand yet, but that's why we need to have a system in place today so we can get there in a year or 12 to 18 months from now, right? So containerizing, what are the topics that I like to talk about that bring me energy? And you can, when I'm talking about them, you can see that I'm passionate about them, because the movement gets created when you have that passion when the founder is talking. So a few topics that I keep very close to my heart, and my team knows it. When we generate content, we have all our prompts, we have our own library that is being used to create more content that sound like me. So I don't have to create it, I just have to sit and shoot it. And I believe in what I'm shooting because that's being generated from my previous contents that's worked well, right? So you stick with the topics and you create your content matrix of the things you're going to talk about in all of the month, and how much of that is going to be short form or long form, right? I can sit down and shoot a piece of content, but what's the ROI I'm looking for? If I want to sell more AI audits, that's what we would probably put forward. Sorry about that. That's what we would probably put forward to our client base in that particular month. If we are really promoting AI for Youth program, you'll see a little bit more of that in that particular month than any other months, right? So every single ounce of your energy, when it goes towards something, you have to be very meticulous and mindful of what is the ROI you're looking for. Because if you're looking for the wrong numbers and you're not tracking the metrics, you're going to burn out, because you're going to be like, well, this thing that doesn't work. But what is the ROI you're looking for? Is it more leads that are targeted to the offer you're selling, more booked appointments or calls on your calendar, or are you looking for follower growth? If you're not looking at the right metric, then you're really just shooting in the dark and you won't get the ROI and then you'll burn out. So we have lots of prompts and libraries which helps with the content, and the team knows how many short form content we need get done in a week, and those are the systems we're keeping in place so they never run out of the content that they can clip from. And I just sit down and I shoot everything I do in a day, which is even the coaching calls, the youth program, and some of that pieces get repurposed when we're trying to get more people enrolled in the youth program or in the AI for Business program. We sort of are our way to give them sneak peek before they start working with me, and some of them become lead magnets.
Oh, cool. So are you recording like any time that you basically are having an interaction, whether maybe it's in person, but mostly through like a digital interaction, whether it's this podcast, um, or a coaching call or a sales call or whatever, are you recording all of that and then that just goes into like a bank that your team then takes and
Yes.
finds pieces that they can turn into assets?
Yeah, so that's where the majority of the content comes from. So it's something that protects my time, so I'm not finding more time to shoot content which is not in me doing the thing. So I record all of me, whatever you want to do more of, that's what you want to put out in the world. So I want to be on more podcasts. So that's what I showcase on my channels in interview format, because that's when people see that I'm doing that, they see me in an action and then they book me for more of them. So that, and then when I'm coaching my youths, then what are they capturing? I tell them to capture everything, and then some of those notes get used in our posts, because that's what not what I'm teaching, but what the youths, my students, are capturing from those coaching calls. What are we doing on those? So all of that gets recorded. That becomes the bulk of the content. But then maybe an hour, sometimes two per week, I would sit down and I reserve that time to record something that would go as part of a 5 or 7 minute YouTube video, which would be something which we targeted for AI audit. Well, how do we run it? And that I'll talk about the MAPS framework or the Shift framework we use to score each workflow. Those are the things where we're really targeted in selling one particular product or productized offer that we have in our business.
Nice. So with that content, are you utilizing any AI to streamline any of those steps or ideate or anything? Do you utilize AI as part of that at all?
So, where AI is not being used is the shooting part, because that's where I don't automate any of that. I don't use any AI avatars or anything. If I don't enjoy it, then why am I doing it? So I like to sit down and record. And it's, I mean, to be honest with you, it has been a personal journey just sitting in front of the camera and talking to myself. I just think once people let go of that ego, you become someone else. And that's what I really appreciate about it. In my youth program, I told my students yesterday, from now on, the assignments you're doing, I am not asking anybody to write text to tell me the answers of the three things you captured. I actually want you to take your parents' phone, put it in selfie mode, record a 2-minute video, and then put it in the community. Because once you do that exercise, you become someone else. So that has been a game changer for me too. Where we use AI is capturing the content. So all my calls are recorded, which also means the transcripts are also generated. So those transcripts get fed, because that's my voice, like that's my genuine voice that helps my team to understand when I jump on a sales call, how do I talk to them? Or if it's a discovery call, what's different that I do in sales call versus discovery call? Those are the things that are captured. All that data, not just video, but also the text format, the transcripts, they get fed. And that's my branding voice. And once that goes, then we create more content out of it. And that it just becomes a cycle.
Yeah. No, I love this. Largely, my podcast is very AI driven. In some of these cases, like naturally, we capture the this episode together on what we're using is Riverside. We have a transcript from that, and then I plug that into as you know, a Notion page that we share together. And there's AI elements to Notion, which is this kind of like project management tool, and you can get some preset AI prompts that you can just click of a button, just says, read through the transcript of this episode, find the highlights that we can spin into quote cards. And I create assets for all of my guests, including clips and quote cards and such. And so, yeah, as long as you have a transcript from a long form piece of content, gone are the days of having to like read through that transcript and like find the spots that are share worthy or the smart things that were said. That's what AI is really, really good for, is to like summarize and find. And yeah, so yeah, I love that process. So podcasting, content creation, what are some of the other ways that you're or let's actually look towards the future. What are some of the ways that you're seeing in the future that maybe something you want to invest into to start driving some leads to your business?
So, some of the things that I'm helping other business owners do is to help them capture their voice and then create assets that they can use inside their business to help with some of the their client queries that they get. So, I'm specifically helping someone who comes from a big HubSpot marketing background, and now she's running her own business. One thing she didn't want to do is have her clients text her on her holiday and ask, this is what's going out, can you proofread it? Or is this particular asset gonna land with my customers? So what we did is we captured her voice and her brand and all her frameworks that she uses to advise her clients and help them on a daily basis. We put them in an AI powered tool, and now it's gonna have a big launch, and it's gonna replace her time with her clients, largely to the extent where they used to reach out to her on any time within 9 to 5, and that block is completely gone. And because we have captured, the tool can actually respond faster than her, because it's not dependent on if she has time or not. If she's in, the tool can that, and we actually brag about it because the tool can respond and write the copy within 3 seconds.
Wow.
And that's a game changer for most people, is because one of the concerns I hear, well, don't they know it's AI, it's not me? Who cares? If they get an answer from you under 3 seconds, do you think they really want to talk to you, or do they care about their problem?
Right. Right. Yeah. The speediness is will trump all when it comes to experience for sure. That's why we text instead of calling people sometimes. Well, this has been awesome. What's like one thing when it comes to AI systems automation for busy founders? What's like the one thing that you just want to make sure you get across to all of them, kind of shake them and say, like, listen to me, blank.
Yeah. Do people realize when internet came on board and everybody was thinking like, what is this thing? Right? You realize the power in it. Then people used to walk in the early days, and then the cars and automobiles came into the picture. I want you to leverage technology like technology. What is it that you're doing today? I mean, these years that you're living, I am 43. My kids are all under the age of 12. This time is never coming back. At the age of 70, what am I gonna rave about? All the crazy things I did and all the cool things we did, and all the people we helped along the way, while also spending enough time with my kids, or the fact that AI was there and then we never jumped on it, and now we are 10 years behind everybody else. I know there are concerns, but there are also policies around it, and you don't have to go change the world tomorrow. Everybody thinks they need to go run a marathon and then just the business goes upside down. No, it starts with 1 mile at a time. You come in with a level of curiosity about a piece of tech, and then you see and figure out and evaluate, well, this new kid on the block, can we use it in our business? Why or why not? And then let's just start having conversations about it. And then maybe, have someone come in and do an AI audit, and it'll literally give you the complete blueprint of what is the cost of inaction for you today, and what would you be looking at 12 months from now, and then just start there. Curiosity will take you farther than anybody else. And it's AI or not AI, it doesn't matter.
Love that. Love all of that. Aarti, this has been awesome. If people want to learn more about you and your business, where should they go? Is there anywhere you want to send them?
Yeah, so please go on Insta, follow. My handle is Aarti Anand 82. And if you DM me and tell me that you came from Dave's show, we have a very, really cool lead magnet that we would love to send you. And it gives you, if you take that quiz under 3 minutes, it can tell you exactly what the cost of inaction is for your business. And all you have to do is to take a 3 minutes quiz. Like it's a no brainer, you guys. I would go do it right now.
Love it. Yeah. We'll put it in the show notes below as well. Aarti, this was so awesome. Thank you for coming on today.
Of course. Thank you for having me. This was a really good conversation.
Cool. See you all in the next episode of Personal Brand Blueprint.